Hi, today I'm doing the job of renovating my key fob, which is made dead easy because now on eBay you can get these kits of parts, new case, some replacement push button switches, as well as one of these CR2032 batteries. So there's three problems that I had with this fob. First of all, the inside button, one of the raised edges of it, this tall bit that goes to the top, had split in two. It looked like it was composed of two parts, I guess, to allow them to be used for different applications. Top half had come off, which meant you had to really dig quite deeply with your thumb to get it to activate the button, as compared to that one which hadn't broken, where just give it a light press on the top. The rubber around the button, because of all that digging deep, had split, and maybe because of that it looked like a bit of water had got in, maybe it'd been rained on, and the printed circuit board inside looked like it had water damage on, so the key fob was getting a bit intermittent. So here we're going to fix all those with a new case, new switch, and check the state of the batteries, change if necessary. Actually, I changed this fairly recently. There's one fourth, I guess, problem that you might notice has been fixed. See, actually on the key itself, the little loop of plastic around the top had broken off. Managed to carefully drill a hole just in that position on the end of the key, and you can get the key ring through to do a good job at replacing that piece of plastic attachment. You have to be very careful you don't get near or damage the passive component that's in these keys, because that's part of the immobilizing system. But at that position it seemed to be okay, but drill carefully. So let's split the case apart. Now if we're going to change the whole case, obviously I've got to take the key ring off, which is pretty easy to do. Just get your fingernail in there, slide it round. So with the key ring off, you'll see there's a little gap right at this end of the key fob that allows you to get the screwdriver in, lever it up. Don't really care too much about denting the plastic because we're going to replace the whole case, and you can lever that apart. And here's the insides. Now in terms of the water damage, I've already cleaned this up. Maybe still see a few little stain marks around there, but it was a little bit sort of corroded, sort of white marks, which shows water damage around this sort of area. So it got in the case somehow, and I think, yeah, so if you see here, there is, I'll just take the whole thing out, there's a little split. Yeah, I wonder if I can see that. Yeah, just about see that. Yeah, there's a little split there at the end of the button. Maybe some water got in there. This one is also on the way out as well. See, it's got some cracks there. So good to replace the whole thing. Now, in terms of cleaning up the circuit board, switch cleaner, can of spray switch cleaner would probably be the best thing to use. I didn't have that handy and couldn't be bothered buying some, so I just used a spray of WD-40 penetrating type oil, which did seem to help actually, and the action of the fob got a lot more reliable then. You can test it with the circuit board out, and you can see the problem of the buttons, and this one is like half the height of this other one, and yeah, when I took it apart, tiny little bit of this circular rubber was loose in the case, and gluing it back on top didn't really work very well. So what I'm going to do is desolder this switch. So a couple of contacts on the side here, and yeah, two more the other side. So you need a soldering iron. Quite a nice one, but cheap, that I picked up from eBay a while ago. We'll just tan the end of my soldering iron. A bit of wet sponge, clean it off, and that should help it take a little bit better. And what we've got to do is carefully, this is quite difficult to show, so what I'm going to do, I think, is put it under the magnifying glass. So here's my soldering iron all warmed up. So what I'm going to do is try and get my fingernail over the edge of it, pull up on the switch while heating these two pads here, see if that works. I will just mention in passing that it is possible, rather than replacing these switches, these push button switches, to repair any corrosion that's inside, because again, originally when you press the button it didn't activate the remote fob every time, And what you can do is prise off this metal covering plate, take off the button. You'll see a couple of discs inside, and they just oxidize a bit, and you just got to scratch them off, clean them up until it's shiny, and then it works a lot better. But this time I'm going to replace the button, so let's just see how successful we can do that while trying to video record it at the same time. Really got to try and swap between these two connections. There we go. So we can do two at once just by getting the soldering iron pretty close to both of them. A bit of swapping in between. Fortunately it bends up then we can get to the other two. Probably do it from this side, just as easy, I think. Hopefully you can see this. Let's zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Alright, then let's try and do the same with this one. That one off, and that one off, and that's the switch removed. So what we've got to do now is clean up the pads. Probably do with a little bit of fresh solder on there. Make sure they're fairly flat and fairly level. Fortunately there's a little bit of flux around there from when it was originally built. And so here's our new push button switch. Got to get it in position. I'm only going to change one of these switches because the other switch seemed to be fine, and the length of the button is still good. Just get it to try and hold a little bit. Quite hard getting the position exactly right. Maybe just do one pad and check it, and then easy to undo it to move it if we need to. Now let's try and get a little bit of solder on there without it spreading around everywhere. Such small dimensions, quite difficult to keep it all neat and steady. I think that's done it on that side. And now we'll just redo the soldering over the other side as well. See if I can tip that up. There we go. Gotta make sure this solder flows down onto the circuit board. I think that's good enough. Alright, so that's the button sorted. And while you're at it, check the voltage on your battery with a multimeter on the voltage scale. 3 volts, over 3 volts. Over 3 volts is what you're looking for. If it's under 3, change the battery. Battery just slides out like that. Just push it from the other side. It's that orientation. And then we can just put it back in our case. So here is our new case. See the markings on it exactly the same as the old one. Apart from the fact that the Canada seems to be scrubbed out for some reason, but everything else is the same. It's a Lucas 3TXB key, this particular one. All exactly the same inside. Same with the other end. Chuck the rubber out of the old one because that was useless. And then we can just refit the circuit. Just push the two together with a firm press, like so, and that's done. Nice new fob. Okay, good luck with yours, and thanks for watching. Oh, of course, don't forget to check that it still works. If you change the battery, you will probably need to resynchronize it to the car, so just keep pressing the lock and unlock buttons about 3 times each, 3 or 4 times. I think it's one of them that does the synchronization. But if you keep pressing like 4 times and then the other one about 4 times, eventually the car will respond and then the fob will be synchronized. Okay, good luck. Thanks. Bye.